So another week, another video. I hope you're all doing okay. So the practice I'm offering this week is around hydrating the spine. My spine has felt incredibly stiff the last few weeks, just due to less activity than I would normally be doing. So this practice, it's a really nice way to promote synovial fluid, which is kind of the juice that keeps the spine nice and supple and the rest of our joints. So it promotes that and makes the spine feel a bit freer, a bit more supple, less stiff. And if you've been suffering with any headaches or sort of neck ache, again, this is a really nice way to help ease that. So we're going to need a couple of things. The first one, you knew it was coming, is my trusty rolled up tea towel. So this is a tea towel. I've cut mine in half because it was a bit long and rolled it up, and I've just secured it with a few elastic bands. You could use hair bubbles, string, anything that's going to keep that roll together. Mine's quite thin because I quite like it that way because it really gets into sort of the different parts of my spine. But if you prefer thicker roll, you can make that up for yourself and experiment with that. Maybe try a couple of variations. So that's one thing we're going to need. So you might want to pause and gather some bits together for that. And then the next thing, I had a brainwave after last week's video. So when we made the bolster with the pillows and the blanket, it was quite a small, compact bolster, which worked fine for last week's purposes. But what I've done this week, I've used 2 pillows instead of 1, and that just gives us a bit more length to play with. So I've got 2 pillows, fairly firm pillows, and then just like last time, I've kind of overlapped them a little bit. And then just like last time, I've got my blanket. I'm going to roll my pillows up. A little bit fiddly with the 2, but it's definitely worth it. And there you go, I've got my longer bolster. So again, get yourself those bits together, get one of them made. I'm going to pop that to one side. And I think that's everything we're going to need. So I've got myself set up here. I've got a blanket underneath me as well for a little bit of extra padding because of the floor-based work that we're going to be doing. Optional, you don't need to have that, it's entirely up to you. And I've got another spare blanket just in case for Shavasana, actually, is something I want to show you in this video. Again, tailing on from last week. So pause the video, get your bits together, and once you're ready, we're going to get ourselves set up in constructive rest. So we're going to come onto our mat, feet on the floor, knees up towards the ceiling. We're all quite familiar with this setup now. And we're going to either let the arms rest at the sides of the body, or if it feels like it might be a nice position for you to be in, bringing the arms maybe into this cactus position, which really helps to open out across the chest, the front of the shoulders, particularly if you've been at a computer for your day. So that's quite nice. If you find that the hands are lifted away from the floor because the shoulders are tight, maybe put some cushions or some blocks just to give the hands something to rest back into so that you're not having to strain in this position if you want to get yourself set up like that. And then we're going to soften and close the eyes if you would like to. We're going to give ourselves a few moments here to settle into the support of the floor. I thought it might be quite nice to do some who breathing from lying down. So again, we've done that in the last couple of videos, I think, but I'll remind you of it again in case you're not sure. And we're going to do 10 rounds of the who breath. So if you remember the who breath, it's when we inhale, and then as we exhale, we round the lips as if we're blowing through a straw. And we make that little sound as if, like the sound of the sea when you're listening to it through a shell. So it's and that will be 1 round, yeah. So we're going to do that 10 times. I'm going to count on my fingers. You can use other methods if you want to, or just roughly gauge around 10. It's entirely up to you. So when you're ready, Inhaling through the nose. And then round the lips as we exhale out through the mouth, making our coo sound. Once you've completed your 10, letting go of that, and you might want to draw the arms back down towards the sides of the body. And just taking a few moments to feel the impact of that. So let's draw the right knee in towards the chest, taking either a hold around the front of the shin or the back of the thigh, whatever's comfortable. It's just a gentle hold around the leg, we're not sort of squeezing it in towards us, so nice and gentle. And as we inhale, we're going to let the pelvis and the knee rock away from us. And as we exhale, we're going to draw the knee back in towards us. So it's an inhale, the pelvis rocks away, the knee moves away. And as we exhale, the knee draws towards us and the pelvis rocks back towards us. And even with this movement here, you can add in the who breath. So you can inhale through the nose as the pelvis and knee moves away. And then as you exhale and the knee draws towards you and the pelvis rocks towards you, you can add in that who breath out through the mouth. And then letting go on that first side, letting the foot come back down to the floor. Just feel the contact between that right foot compared to the left. It might plant on the floor a little bit differently. So then let's come to the second side, drawing the left knee in towards you, taking a hold of the front of the knee or the back of the thigh. And again, as we inhale, the knee and the pelvis rock away from us. And as we exhale, the knee and the pelvis rock back towards us, adding in the who breath if you wish. And then when you're ready, letting go on that second side and letting that left foot come back down onto the floor. Feel the difference. So we're going to use our trusty tea towel. Flannels are also really good to roll up here. So bring yourself quite close down to the end of your mat. And you're going to place your roll right at the top of the shoulders to begin with. And then the movement comes from the feet. So there's a little gentle push from the feet so we can rock back and forth over our roll. And that might already feel quite a lot, especially if you're tight in the upper back. But what we can start to do is add in the arms as well. So with nice loose wrists, we're going to track the arms up over the head. And then back down through the centre. And then we can add in a little rotation to one side. And then over to the other side. And then I quite like to cross my arms. And then cross them the other way. And then we're going to shimmy up, so we move down a section on our spine, and then again adding in this little push from the feet, tracking the arms up over the head. Maybe adding in a little rotation. Cross of the arms. And then moving down onto the next joint. And as you move down, make sure you're bringing your feet with you, because otherwise you're going to end up with the feet quite far away from you. So keeping the feet close by, and then adding in our rocking again. So you're likely to find a few tender spots, and if you want to spend a bit longer in some of those sections, yeah, feel absolutely free to do that. So we might not be able to go for massages at the moment, but it doesn't mean we can't have that experience still. Not quite the same, but it's a nice substitute. So there might come a point where instead of shimmying down on your mat, you can actually reach the roll with your hands and just move it down to the next section of your back. So touching each part of the spine here, each section of the spine. So there will come a point where you're reaching the lumbar spine, where the back begins to arch up away from the floor, so it won't make contact with the roll. So when you get to those points, as I am now, the way around that is to draw the knees into the chest, and then we can add in this rocking forwards and back, and then we can even add in our side to side movement. A few passes on that section, bringing the feet down, then moving it down onto the next. You'll often find, well, I tend to anyway, the more tender spots are towards the upper back, so you can kind of whiz through the lower back, but that might not be your experience. You might just want to spend a bit more time on this lower region of the spine, so that's absolutely fine. And then we'll come to the sacrum and the tailbone area, where we don't need to draw the knees in towards us anymore. We can still have that contact, and at this stage there's no point again bringing the arms up over the head, so we're too low down the spine for that now. But for some, the sacrum and the tailbone can be quite tender spots, so if that is your experience and this is a little bit too much, don't feel like you need to do this on the tailbone and the sacrum. I don't spend a huge amount of time there, particularly around my tailbone, because it can be a bit tender sometimes. So once you've passed all the way along your spine, let both legs lengthen out, let the arms come to the sides of the body, and you might still be working here, so feel free to pause the video. You might want to spend a bit longer, that's absolutely fine. But also noticing any effect on the breath as well. You'll find quite often the breath feels a little bit more released after that, and the back of the neck and the head might feel a bit longer. So you're going to bring your right foot onto the floor here. And then from here, we're going to let the knee on that right side lengthen forward. So the knee's travelling straight ahead, and the pelvis will lift on that right hand side, but the knee's tracking straight ahead, not over to the left, yeah, the knee tracks straight ahead. And then we release. And we're going to repeat that about 4 more times. So we're speaking to the deep psoas muscle here. Really lengthening as well into the knee. And also notice any changes in the shoulder blade on that right hand side as you work in here. And where that lands on the floor. And then when you've completed, let the right leg lengthen out. And then we're going to bring the left foot onto the floor. I forgot to mention this actually. So the leg that's lengthened away, it's really passive, yeah, so you don't feel like you need to activate the foot or anything. Just let that leg go. That's lengthened away. So again, on this left side, we're going to lengthen forwards with the left knee. The left hand side of the pelvis will lift. And then now release. Again, about 4 more times. And then when you're done, releasing on that second side. So already after the work we've done, the body might feel very different laying against the floor, and the breath might also feel quite different. So let's gather both knees in towards the chest, have a little rock from side to side. And then we're going to roll all the way over onto one side and bring ourselves up from there. So if you are working with any padding underneath you, you might want to pop that to one side for now. So let's come into a nice wide leg child pose to begin with here. So let's separate the knees nice and wide, but the toes and the feet are still together. And then I'm going to walk the hands forwards, anchoring back with my tail, reaching into my hands, my arms. If the head allows it, I can bring the head towards the floor, but it might feel a bit more comfortable to keep the head lifted. That's certainly the case for me today. I'm feeling the support of the breath here, so we might feel a lifting as we inhale and a dropping down as we exhale. And that movement of the breath is massaging the whole of our spine here. Let's walk the hands back, come up from there. We can do that again, or if you want to take it a little further, I'm going to bring the feet and the knees roughly to hip distance now. And I'm going to slide the hands forwards. I'm going to lift my bottom up away from my heels, but then I'm going to anchor back with my tail and bring my forehead down. And again, finding that support of the breath. So as you inhale, you might feel the spine lifting, and that might be right up to the head. The head might even want to lift away from the floor. And then as you exhale, you're drawing back down. And then let's walk the hands back from there. I'm going to come into downward dog and use that as a transition to come up to standing. So let's tuck the toes under, bringing the hands forwards The shoulders, finding that contact between the hands and the ground. And then from here, let's come up into our downward dog. If you want to, you can take your dog for a walk. You can let your dog wag its tail. Working with whatever variations you're comfortable with. And then let's begin to walk the feet towards the hands, coming up to standing from there. So coming towards the front ends of your mat. I'm aware that some of my head's chopped off here, but it doesn't matter for the purposes of what we're going to be doing. So coming towards the front end of your mat, softening the knees, letting the arms rest at the sides of the body. So we're going to roll down through the spine, so letting the chin curl in towards the chest. I'm going to bend my knees generously and I'm going to roll down through my spine. And really bend the knees generously. And then we're going to come back up, so we lengthen down, pouring the weight into the feet. It's almost like we're going to sit down to come back up. And then let's take that a slight turn to the left, drawing the chin in towards the chest, rolling down with this slight lateral movement over the left hand side. And rolling back up from there, and then a slight turn to the right, same. Let the arms come up over the head, bend the knees as if we're sitting back down. We're going to come into our Utkatasana, lightning bolt pose. Maybe have a breath or two there, bringing the arms wide. And then we're going to come onto all fours from there. So here we're going to take this into kind of a little lateral child pose here. So I'm going to let my feet move over to the right hand side. I'm going to bring my bottom back towards my heels. And I'm going to let my head maybe rest on this right hand side as well. So I'm really lengthening the whole of this left hand side of the body. I'm going to come back up and then I'm going to flip my feet over to the left, draw my bottom back towards my heels, letting my head rest on the left arm maybe, opening out long on this right hand side. So let's move in and out of that, yeah, from one side to the other. Come to lay on your front. Let the arms reach long, let the legs reach long, nice and active in the feet. And then you go draw your left hand underneath your left shoulder, draw that elbow in, and then you're going to take the right hand over to the left. So we're making this little sideways movement over towards the left, and let the head come to rest on the right ear. Few breaths there, coming back to the centre, forehead down. And then we're going to bring the right hand under the right shoulder, bringing the left hand over to the right, turning the head to rest on the left ear. Coming back to centre, forehead down, bringing the hands under the shoulders to support you, tucking the toes under. We're going to bring the bottom back towards the heels, and then we're going to take that up to our downward dog. Few breaths there. See if we can find that movement of the breath carrying the spine. So as we inhale, It's like a little lift, and as we exhale, we're drawing down. And then this time we're going to walk the hands back towards the feet, coming up to standing. So we should be at the back end of our mat now. And then we're going to make those little spinal roll movements, so going down through the centre, rolling up, turn to the left, rolling up, and then turn to the right, rolling up. From there, bring the arms over the head, bending the knees if we're sitting back down, coming into our Utkatasana, lightning box pose, finding that support of the breath. Bring the arms wide, and then again we're going to come to all fours. So from our all fours position here, we're going to make some circles, yeah, so remember our pencil in our belly button, and we're going to begin to draw circles on our mat. So again, helping to hydrate the spine, and also moving into the sides of the spine as we make this movement. And then taking it the opposite direction. Coming to lay on our front again, so we're going to make those little side to side movements on our front, so nice and active in the feet, forehead down. Bring the left hand under the left shoulder. I'm going to take the right hand over to the left, letting the head rest on the right ear. Coming back to centre. Bringing the right hand under the right shoulder, taking the left hand over to the right, letting the head turn to rest on the left ear. Back to centre. Bringing the hands under the shoulders, we're going to tuck the toes under, bringing the bottom back towards the heels, and then coming back into our downward dog. Few breaths here. Finding that support of the breath. And then this time we're going to walk the feet forwards again. And coming up. From there, we're going to make that little movement where we roll down through the spine again, so back down through the centre. Rolling up. A gentle turn to the left. To the right. Raising the arms up over the head, coming into our Utkatasana, lightning bolt pose. Bringing the arms wide, bend the knees generously, and let's come back onto all fours again. Bring the feet to the inner edge, so the inner edge of the feet and the knees together. Bring the hands slightly forward to the shoulders. And then still got our pencil in our belly button. This time we're going to draw a figure 8 on our mat. So your bottom is making the lower part of your number 8, and your head is making the top part of your number 8. This has definitely been a very welcome movement in my spine the last few days. And then let's take it in the opposite direction. Coming to lay on your front, taking it over to the left, back to centre, over to the right, back to centre, bringing the hands under the shoulders, tucking the toes under, and let's come back to our downward dog, finding the breath. And then let's walk the hands back towards the feet. Coming up from there, let's do some roll downs again, so rolling down through the centre, over to the left, over to the right, bringing the arms up over the head, coming into our Utkatasana, bringing the arms wide, and let's come onto all fours again. So we're going to take it into cat and cow pose from here. So as we inhale, round in the upper back, letting the back of the neck become long, really filling into the backs of the lungs. And then as we exhale, coming into our extended cow pose as the chest comes through the tops of the arms, being mindful that you're not pushing into the lumbar spine, so remembering that containment around the belly that we talk about. Rounding into our flexed cat. Coming into our extended cow. So let's repeat that a few times. And then let's come to lay on our front. Taking it over to the left. So really filling into the sides of the ribs on that right side, that's length and long. Back to centre. And then over to the left, over to the right. Back to centre. Bringing the hands under the shoulders, tucking the toes under, and let's take it back up to our downward dog. Finding the support of the breath. And then let's walk the feet back towards the hands. Coming up from there. Okay, we'll go do another set of roll downs. Down through the centre. Over to the left. Over to the right. Oh. Bringing the arms up over the head, sitting back into our Utkatasana lightning bolt pose. Bringing the arms wide and coming back to an all fours position. So we're going to take this into a lunge on both sides. So we're going to bring the bottom back towards the heels. And then as we come forwards again, we're going to bring the right foot to step forwards. So lengthening into the feet, so lengthening into the sole of the front foot, the top of the back foot, so there's no pressure on that back knee. And then from here, we're going to draw the arms either over the head or onto the thigh. If you want to add in your little cactus position, you're more than welcome. Bringing the hands back down, we're going to step that right foot back, bringing the bottom back towards the heels. And then we're going to come forwards onto the left. Again, really lengthening down into the feet to either draw the arms over the head, onto the thigh, or coming into your cactus position. Bringing the hands down, stepping that left foot back, bottom back towards the heels, and then let's come onto our front again. Taking it over to the left. Back to centre. Taking it over to the right. Back to centre. Hands to support you, tucking the toes under, and we're going to lift up and back to our downward dog. Let's walk the hands back towards the feet, rolling up from there. And then let's come into our spinal rollers again, so down through the centre. Over to the left. Over to the right. Raising the arms over the head, coming into our Utkatasana. Bringing the arms wide, let's come onto all fours. So this is the last thing we're going to do on all fours now. So we're going to make that movement where we pick up the alternate leg and arm. So we're going to lengthen the right hand forward, the left leg back, and then we're going to lengthen as we lift. So we're not thinking about lifting high, we're thinking about long. So really lengthening into the sole of the foot, into the fingertips, remembering that containment so we're not pushing down into our lumbar spine. So the lower back supported. We're going to stay on this side. We're going to round the upper back as we draw the leg and the arm in. And then we're going to take them long again. Drawing in. Let's go one more. And then releasing on that side. And then when you're ready, we're going to do the opposite side, so lengthening the left hand forwards, the right leg back. Thinking about reaching long, not up. Drawing in to round the upper back, lengthening long. Almost as if you're moving through water. And then letting go. Let's come long onto our front. Taking it over to the left. Back to centre. Taking it over to the right. Back to centre. Hands under the shoulders to support, tuck the toes in. Let's bring it up to downward dog. And then walking the feet forwards. Hands. Ooh. Coming up from there. Spend a few moments to let everything settle. Feel the impact of that on the body. And then we're going to come back down onto the mat. So we're going to do a little bit of work in bridge pose, and we're going to do a bit of rolling through the spine, and then we're going to come to rest down. So we're going to do a few variations on bridge pose tonight. So come in to bring your feet on the floor, bottom fairly close to the heels, but not so much that you're going to bring pressure into the knees. Coming to lay back and letting the arms come down the sides of the body with the palms facing down to begin with. So I like to make this movement of extension first. So I rock towards my tailbone first, and then I pour the weight into my feet as the tail rocks, as the pelvis rocks back, letting the weight pour into the feet, the pelvis becomes light, and then I'm going to begin to travel up through my spine, piece by piece, yeah, vertebra by vertebra. Imagining that the spine was a string of pearls, and then when we come to the top of our bridge, we're going to begin to roll back down again, imagining that the spine is a string of pearls, and we're letting each piece of the spine come down into contact with the floor, one at a time, and then coming down back towards the tailbone. So let's go a couple of times with this variation. And really taking your time, working through the spine. You might find some tender points. And then once you've done a few of that variation, if you wish to, we can add in the variation where we draw the arms over the head. So as we come up to the top of our bridge next, we're going to bring the arms up and over behind the head, keeping the arms there. We're going to begin to lower the spine. The hands don't need to be in contact with the floor, yeah, we're simply reaching the arms behind us to create a bit of traction in the upper back. So it's actually sometimes it's a bit nicer to bring the arms a little bit higher. I like to imagine that I've got hold of something. Oh. And then drawing the arms back down to the sides of the body. So let's repeat that, or you can just continue with that first variation if you want to. Keep the weight pouring into the feet. So a third variation, it's actually 4 we're going to work through tonight, but third variation I'm going to add in, if you want to join me on this one, is I'm going to come to the top of my bridge. I'm going to keep my arms at the sides of the body with the palms down. And this is, you might have heard me call this the Elvis version. So I'm going to begin to make this little side to side movement in my spine and my pelvis. And again, rolling down the spine, piece by piece. So it's like you're trying to let every section of the spine come down to touch the floor and have a little movement from side to side. And then the fourth variation, so you can continue with any one of those, yeah, if you want to, or we can add in the fourth one, and this isn't for everyone, but if you do want to join me. So what I do, I keep my arms at the sides of the body to begin with. I'm going to pick my pelvis up. Now the aim isn't to get the feet behind the head. I'm going to draw the arms up behind me, so my feet are still lifted, and then I'm going to begin to roll down through my spine piece by piece again. Again, it's quite nice to imagine you've got hold something. You can actually hold something as well. You can do this sort of on a sofa and hold the bottom of the sofa, or you can hold someone's ankles, which is really good. And then I bring the arms down to the sides of the body. So you can repeat that a few times. Or you can work with any of the other variations. I'm going to go one more time with this one. And then let's give the legs a good shake out. Let the arms get involved. Maybe come onto the side. And then let the legs lengthen out, take on board the impact of that. So next thing I want to do is do a little bit of rolling in the spine, and then we're going to do a restorative pose, and then we'll come to rest down. So I'm going to use a bit of extra padding for this next one. Now this again isn't for everyone. If you don't want to do this, you can do any of those bridge variations we've just looked at. You can come to constructive rest, do a bit of work there, or you can come into that movement where we come onto our back and we let the knee rock back and forth if you would prefer. But if you want to, you can see I made myself a little bit of a padded runway here. So I'm simply going to roll through back and forth my spine. And again, the aim here isn't to get the legs behind the head. We're just building some momentum to roll back and forth. So I come forwards, I roll back, and I'm simply going to roll back and forth. The legs might come behind the head, but it's not really the aim. And then when you've had enough of that, coming back to a still place. So we're going to use our double size bolster. It's like a big sausage roll. So we're going to come into a supported twist for the spine here. So I'm going to show you from this side first. So what I'm going to do, I've got my bolster. Now if your bolster for some reason isn't as long as this one, as long as you've got about this much, you should be okay, and then you can add some cushions for the head, for you know, the sort of the top half of the body. But you can make yourself a nice long one here. So what I'm going to do, you can see I'm bringing my legs over to the left, and I'm letting the left foot nestle in the instep of the right foot, and I'm lining my hip towards the left corner of the bolster. Yeah, so it's right over on the edge of the bolster, and I bring the bolster right in towards me, and I've got my hands either side of the bolster. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to lift my spine, and I'm going to turn so that the front of my body can rest down on the bolster. I'm either going to let my head turn towards the legs, or if it's comfortable and the neck allows it, I can turn my neck to the opposite way. So how I like to work with this, I always start off with my head facing the same way as my legs. I spend a few breaths there, a few moments there. And then when it feels appropriate, if it feels comfortable, then I might turn my head the opposite way. Some days it just doesn't feel appropriate in my neck. So if you do want to, you can let the head turn. So I'm going to give us a couple of minutes on this first side. And it can be such a relief for the whole system, actually, bringing yourself onto your front like this, especially with some support underneath. You can let your eyes close or keep them open. And again, looking for that, or finding that support of the breath. So as you inhale, you might feel a slight lift in the body. And as you exhale, can you let yourself drop down a little bit deeper into the support that's offered by the bolster. So I actually have a yoga bolster, but this homemade version I'm actually preferring for this. So I think this is going to be my go-to prop for the next few weeks. So if you want to spend a bit longer on this first side, feel free. So to come out, you're going to use the hands to support you and bringing yourself up from there. So to come to the other side, I'm going to spin my bolster around, but obviously you don't need to do this, but I'm just going to spin it around so I can stay facing the right way. So again, this time I'm going to let my right foot nestle into the instep of my left foot. I bring the bolster right, so the right edge of the bolster, but to my right, might be different for you, but this outside edge of the bolster is right on the outer edge of the hip. So there's quite a bit of bolster behind me here, and it's right in towards me. My hands are either side, I lift, I turn, and then I come to lay on my bolster. And again, letting the head and the neck turn however's appropriate for you. Always err on the side of caution generally with the body, but especially with the neck, So it's good just to spend, I think, a few moments with the neck in this more neutral position. And then after a while, if it's appropriate, turning the head the opposite way. Again, I'm going to give us another couple of minutes or so here on this second side. Again, looking for the support of the breath. Letting the eyes close if you wish. And notice if this side differs to the other side in any way. And again, if you want to spend a bit longer here, feel free to do so. I'm going to use my hands to support me to bring myself up. And feeling the impact of that. So we're going to come to rest down in Shavasana. So if you want to use your supersized bolster for underneath your knees and lay on your back, you can get that set up for yourself. But there is something I do want to share with you in this video with this longer bolster. So I quite like to practice Shavasana on my front, and when I have props like this at home, it's usually my go-to as opposed to lying on my back. So I'm going to share this with you. So I've got my bolster lengthways in front of me, and I'm also going to use a second blanket, and this is going to be for my head. So you can just use a couple of pillows, cushions, whatever you've got lying about. So I've just made a little bit of a roll here with this blanket, and this is, like I said, this is going to be for my head. So my collarbone is going to come right to the end of my bolster. I've got the support for my head. Without the support, you can just, the head and neck can kind of hang a bit unsupported, so it's not particularly nice. So you want enough support so that the back of the neck is still nice and long, but it isn't completely falling off the head. But you don't want too much support so that the head's kind of propped up. So you want to keep the back of the neck nice and long. And then the arms can rest at the side of the body. And then sometimes I'll put a blanket right over me as well. And I'll rest down on my front. So if you want to have a go of that variation, feel free to get yourself set up there with that. Or if you prefer to come on your back, again, that's absolutely fine. Getting that set up. And as always, you know, you're not stuck in that position. So if you find that you come to you begin to lie on your front, and after a few moments you think this just isn't very comfortable, feel free to come out of it and get yourself set up in a way that is going to be comfortable. So letting yourself get settled, make sure you're going to be warm enough. So whether you're lying on your front or you're lying on your back, making yourself as comfortable as you can possibly be here. If you wish to, letting the eyes soften and close. And finding that supportive rhythm of the breath. And if you are laying on your front over the bolster, it's really nice to think of the spine as a piece of driftwood kind of bobbing along in the sea, carried by the breath. And if you're laying on the back, really allowing yourself to rest back deeply into the support that's offered beneath you. So I'm going to continue to read the Yoga Sutras to you in this video. So we're up to verse 17 now. And you will have to forgive some of my Sanskrit pronunciations with this as well. I'll muddle through it. The settled mind is known as samadhi. In samprajñāta samadhi, the settled state is accompanied by mental activity. First on the gross level, then on the subtle level, then a feeling of bliss, and finally the sense of pure I amness. After the repeated experience of the settling and ceasing of mental activity comes another samadhi. In this, only the latent impressions of past experience remain. This is the nature of existence for beings without gross physical bodies, and for those who are absorbed in the womb of all life awaiting rebirth. For others, this samadhi is preceded by trust, perseverance, recollection, tranquility, and wisdom. It is near for those who ardently desire it. Yet even among them there are degrees, mild, moderate, and intense. It can also come from complete surrender. I'll read that again for you. The settled mind is known as samadhi. In samprajñāta samadhi, the settled state is accompanied by mental activity. First on the gross level, then on the subtle level, then a feeling of bliss, and finally the sense of pure I amness. After the repeated experience of the settling and ceasing of mental activity comes another samadhi. In this, only the latent impressions of past experience remain. This is the nature of existence for beings without gross physical bodies, and for those who are absorbed in the womb of all life awaiting rebirth. For others, this samadhi is preceded by trust, perseverance, recollection, tranquility, and wisdom. It is near for those who ardently desire it. Yet even among them there are degrees, mild, moderate, and intense. It can also come from complete surrender. So we're going to begin to gently come out of our Shavasana here. So if you're laying on your back, let the fingers and toes wriggle. If you're laying on the front, you can also do the same. Now for those of you who are on your front, if you use your hands to support you to push yourself back, bring your bottom towards your heels, coming into a child pose, and you can use the bolster to rest your forehead against, keeping the eyes closed if you wish. And if you're on your back, you can generate some heat in the palms, bringing the hands over the eyes if you want to. And give yourself a few moments here before you eventually bring yourself back up to a comfortable seated position. So once you're back up and you're sat comfortably, giving yourself a few moments there, letting everything settle, find its place again. And if you wish to, bring in the hands into prayer mudra, prayer position in the front of the chest. Again, it's just a nice symmetrical way to finish. And we will leave that there for today. Thank you so much for joining me again. It's really, really lovely again to make these videos for you. As always, keep in touch. Let me know if you've got any requests for any themes or video ideas that you might have. But until then, I'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.